If you enjoy cozy books that have actual depth, there was a moment I needed to read this book. It wasn't now. It makes it powerful, realistic, extreme. Put together a list of 15 books I wanted to tackle over the next few weeks. Hi friends, thank you so much for joining me today. Get comfortable and let's talk about books. Today I made simple white tea with a hint of rose and lavender buds, major dates with almond butter, white chocolate, sprinkle of matcha powder. With the new season approaching, I felt like I needed a reset. I just put together a list of 15 books I wanted to tackle over the next few weeks, enough for the next 3 months. The first book that I want to talk about today is The White Album from Joan Didion. I don't know that much about her yet, other than the fact that she seems effortlessly cool and pretty sharp. This is a collection of essays set in the late 60s. Obviously, it was a time of cultural and political instability. So on Storygraph sits around 3.9, which is a solid starting point. Then we have Sweet Bean Paste. This follows a small dorayaki shop, and I guess his owner life changes when he meets his old woman. And I guess that's most of what I know. I felt like hearing about the book, it might sound a little bit sad. I hope it's not that emotional. I have to admit I'm very drawn by beautiful colors, and most of my books follow this aesthetic, and this cover is stunning. So yeah, I just feel like emotions and colors. Let's hope it's good. And then Second Chance Convenience Store. It feels like very gentle, introspective story, as most of this style of books, as far as I know, should explore routine, belonging, and these empty small places that are meaningful just because of this, because they are passing by spaces where people can just be themselves without other people judging, because it doesn't really matter how you are. Then we have the Vanishing Cherry Blossom Bookshop. Spread springs everywhere. Feels soft, nostalgic, maybe magical. It's about memory, books, second chances, the usual lot. And maybe some melancholic undertone. Then we change the direction. So now that the soft spring energy is gone, we go back to reality. It can happen here, or it might. This is a political dystopia written in 1930, imagining how authoritarianism could rise in USA. That's a lot. It makes it powerful, realistic, extreme, and doesn't look like a dystopia anymore. I felt like it was. If there was a moment I needed to read this book, it wasn't now. Please, guys, read. This is important. Next, we have Slaughterhouse-Five. This is a classic. As far as I heard, it's a pretty unusual book, and this gave me the vibes of The Lord of Fly. I heard that it's some aliens inside, which I'm up for it. I like aliens. Follows a soldier that becomes blocked in time, in a way, and moves in different timelines of his life, including the bombing of Dresden. There should be some trauma, how to process it, so it's a tough read. So then we have 2001 Space Odyssey. I'm currently trying to tackle major cult books that also became iconic films from the last century. And this guy is part of the challenge. It explores evolution, artificial intelligence, and obviously unknown. I'll probably do a separate video about this whole cult books film journey. Then I have Jaws. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's I was really curious about this one. I'm a biologist, so it's about fear, power, small town dynamics, obviously not just a shark. Really want to see how different feels to the movie, because I have to be honest, I didn't see the movie. And I would really, really, really interesting to first read a book and then see the movie. This is how I usually tackle those things because I don't watch movies if there's no reason. Then Dinosaur Tales from Ray Bradbury. And I have to say, as a biologist, I somehow became obsessed with dinosaurs in my 30s, and so now I'm exploring this new interest. So Bradbury writing is always nostalgic and imaginative, but I have to say super hard for me as not an avid English speaker. So the next is After the Flying Saucer Came by Greg Eghigian, I suppose. This is a non-fiction and it focuses on UFO phenomena from a cultural and historical perspective. Greg Eghigian is a professor of history and bioethics. It's clearly really not about aliens. It's about how humans interpret the unknown. The next is Something to Look Forward to by Fannie Flagg. Oh my god, I love Fannie Flagg. I love her writing. If you enjoy cozy books that have actual depth and not just a static description with no real story, and if you don't know her, a cozy writer, all her female characters are amazing. She wrote most of his books between 80s and 90s. This is one of the only two I miss. Then we have The Bookshop Woman. And this explores identity, routine, and somebody that I guess works at a bookshop. That's everything I know. It should be introspective, as all those kinds of books slightly are, maybe supposedly unconventional. I always love those books, but I struggle to remember them for some reason. About bookstores and stuff like this. I just don't remember them, and they give me the good vibes at the moment, and then 5 minutes after that, okay, what is it about? And up next, we have The Planet of the Apes. Behind this sci-fi promise, the book is about power, civilization, and the definition of humanity itself. I want to know their perspective about life. Up next, we have my Italian copy. I read 3 languages, German, Italian, and English. I mostly read in English, second amount in my native language, which is Italian. And I started reading in German, which I found it quite hard, but it's going. And this is a book. It's called in Italian, it's Una stanza tutta per sé, which in English connects to A Rooms of One's Own by Virginia Woolf. I think the book in English is called A Room of Their Own. Author is Alex Johnson. The author writes books about books and that everything. Even though Alex Johnson looks like somebody who really, really likes writing about books, these books specifically describe writers, but not just them as people, but them as art, and in particularly their creative space and why it matters. It looks like more a reflective book rather than narrative. It has astounding images, and which I think they are part of the art of the book. And I guess I'm really fascinated by the idea, the area, the locus where an artist creates its own art is also art. At least I hope that's what he described. I'm really, really interested in seeing his own perspective. So up next we have Books That Change History, which is again a book about books. And I describe in quite some details all the books that indeed change history. So we have Gospels, Architecture and Perspective, William Shakespeare, Galileo Galilei, the Book of Psalm, Robert Hooke, Isaac Newton, origin of the species. Yeah, Alice in Wonderland. So we are approaching more modern. Wizard of Oz, Peter Rabbit, Brother Grimm. And Einstein. Penguin. I love Penguin. They should be there. So now we should discuss how I decide what to read next. As a scientist, I need to use numbers, and that's how I do it. I simply use Excel. I extrapolated all those info from Storygraph. If we go by rating and we filter the data by rating, we see that the highest, Slaughterhouse-Five. Then we have also Sweet Bean Paste, which kind of surprised me up there. Yeah, interesting. But if we go for dark selection, it can happen here, as I expect. And yeah, so I guess I will go for the rating. I don't feel particularly emotional. Even though inside my heart, I would really, really like to read Rooms of Their Own. But so then I decided I will read Slaughterhouse-Five for the next week. However, I have a priority actually, and this requires me to go to the bookshop. So let's follow me. First of all, I really needed some fresh air, and I went to the park for some time. Then I'm a very slow walker, slowly walk to grab some bread, and then towards the city center. I love this street actually. I live in Germany, by the way, so that's where the aesthetic is coming from. I stopped by one of the few bookshops that have books in English, and those are two of them. So I try to buy most of my books from my local bookshop, but I usually order them online or pick them up there. Not because the bookshop is small or lacking, it's just because most of the books I'm interested into they don't have. They mostly have romantasy, which, to be honest, I try to avoid like the past. It's not my thing. It just doesn't give me anything. And but it's good that it's pushing the full book economy. My taste is very specific, so yeah, for example, this book looks amazing. This is a Germany, going back home to have a nice lunch. So I booked some bread, some tomato, some cheese, blackberries, and I use some bean soup that I had at home to have some lunch. And then finally the reveal. What book did I buy? And this is Strange Building by Uketsu. This is the third that at least is translated to English from this very weird, creepy writer that I'm super interested into. All those books are about buildings, places, things that look to be disconnected, but they always have some connection all together. And part of the job of the detective is to put together all those puzzles. I like about those books is that most of the architecture, in particular in strange buildings and in strange houses, it becomes puzzle itself. And the elements of the architecture become clues. A Strange Picture is a little bit different from the others because it's focusing mostly on images, but I think the story is strong there as well. So yeah. And that's all for today. Thank you so much for having joined me. Please subscribe and check my website, and hear you next time.